Just over an hour ago, when Chairman Mark Hullier announced that he's given up his personal battle to save the club. Hullier has agreed to hand over control of the bankrupt second division club, which was wound up in the High Court on Tuesday. It's being taken over by a consortium backed by a Beckenham-based property company, Sunley Construction. The group, headed by former Chairman Richard Collins, are now negotiating with the official receiver. The High Court will decide tomorrow afternoon whether or not the club will be allowed to continue. A few moments ago, Mike Calvin spoke to Mr. Hullier about his decision to resign.
There has been an agreement in principle with the people representing the Sunley Group, and it is possible that this agreement will be concluded this evening.
Would that mean then that your relationship with the club will cease?
Yes, in a word.
And in a few more words, perhaps, how would you feel about that? Because you are a Charlton fan after all.
If it's good for the club, that's the main thing. That's all I'm concerned about. And on the surface, it certainly appears to be good for the club. And if these people take over, they have my full support and my full backing, and I wish them well.
How much has your involvement with Charlton cost you?
From the company's point of view, in the region of about £370,000. But as I say, the overriding factor has been the future of Charlton Athletic, and that money has been written off for the purpose of helping this consortium, if they take over, well, ease their way, basically.
How secure is that future, then?
Well, the next 24 hours will tell, but I'm very, very hopeful indeed.
Go with debts totalling more than £1 million. In court this afternoon, the official receiver accepted a rescue package from a consortium backed by the Sunley property company.
The manager, Mr. Lenny Lawrence, waited for the news from the High Court along with a group of fans at the supporters club. For him, the supporters and the players, it's been a week of frustration and anxiety. He was waiting for the phone call from the court, which would tell him that the club was back in business and that Charlton Athletic would be playing Grimsby Town on Saturday, instead of a staff of over 40 people being out of work. The news came just before 5 o'clock.
They've agreed it then?
Well, it's great news. It's great news for the club, and I hope it's great news for the supporters.
So now the staff, who have been locked out of the club since it was wound up, have one full day to prepare the ground for the game on Saturday.
Deal which sets up out of the Football League. A consortium headed by the Sunley Building Group agreed to take over the club and their debts of more than £1 million. It means that Charlton will be playing against Grimsby on Saturday. We'll be hearing from Graham Miller at the Valley in just a moment, but first, from the High Court, Mike Calvin reports.
Charlton had just 25 minutes to live when consortium member Richard Collins, the former Charlton chairman, sped off from the High Court to complete his rescue plan with the Football League. With the 5 p.m. deadline looming, it was a hectic end to a hectic afternoon. The first sign that Charlton would survive came at precisely 8 minutes past 3, when Peter Crystal, the Sunley Group solicitor, breathlessly entered court number 35. He gave a thumbs-up sign and the escape from bankruptcy was on. Does that mean that Charlton is now saved?
Yes.
Obviously a lot of hard work put into this. How tight has it been right up until the last moment?
Right to the last moment, yes.
And were you always confident that it would happen that way?
It's been difficult. It's been a difficult course for us all the way through, right up to the last moment, yes.
So will Charlton 84 be the same as Charlton 83
yes.
in football terms?
Yes.
And we're playing at the Valley on Saturday?
Yes.
Yes. What message?
I must get to the Football League, lads.
Charlton fans packed the public benches in the court. They had feared that their club was about to become the first league club to go out of existence since 1962. In their moment of relief, they looked to the future.
Let's have some people turn up instead of the usual 4,500. Yeah. So we get a really good crowd.
More turned up here today than they do at Valley.
Somebody to show the consortium that what they've spent their money on has been worth it.
The feeling here at the Valley tonight is that Charlton have just won the most important match in their 79-year history. The outcome was never certain, and fans are still arriving here at the new Valley Club seeking the confirmation of the news. The ground is still locked outside, but it should be business as usual under Charlton 84 tomorrow morning, and the match on Saturday will go ahead. First reaction from other clubs in London is one of delight, but only Claire Fulham says closure is inevitable. If not here, then at another hard-up club at any time. For Charlton, it's really like cup final day now. They were similarly rescued from closure in 1932, that led to one of the most successful periods in their club history. And there are people hoping here that that will be repeated as well. There'll be more on the Charlton story in Thames Sport. Meantime, this is Graham Miller from a
Deadlines. Today, the High Court accepted a rescue package from a consortium backed by the Sunley Property Group.
The manager, Mr. Lenny Lawrence, waited for the news from the High Court along with a group of fans at the supporters club. For him, the supporters and the players, it's been a week of frustration and anxiety. He was waiting for the phone call from the court, which would tell him that the club was back in business and that Charlton Athletic would be playing Grimsby Town on Saturday, instead of a staff of over 40 people being out of work. The news came just before 5 o'clock.
They've agreed it then? We're relieved for everybody, and especially for the supporters. I mean, like, they've been hanging on. I mean, we've got a regular band of 5,000 or 6,000. I mean, it'd been a tragedy for them if it had folded.
I think that when you come as close as this to losing the club and therefore losing your job, you come to appreciate what a good life football is, and you earn good money and you enjoy what you're doing, and it's been very nearly taken away from us all. And personally, it makes me more appreciative of the job I'm doing.
By 6 o'clock, the club began to fill up. The players, who haven't been paid for 2 weeks, arrived to meet the new consortium of businessmen who've saved Charlton. And for the first time in weeks, the supporters were able to enjoy a drink with the knowledge that the long tradition of football at the Valley was
settled, and the threat of bankruptcy has been hanging over Charlton Athletic all season. With debts of over £1.5 million, today they faced two final deadlines. They had to give financial guarantees to the High Court at 3 o'clock and to the Football League by 5 o'clock. Well, they met both deadlines, but what a day for the innocent bystanders in all this, the players. Simon Reed was with them at this morning's training session.
It was 10 o'clock this morning when Lenny Lawrence gathered his players together for what they all knew could be the last time. They'd been through a lot together in these last crazy months, but now they all faced the prospect of being out of work within hours, and for most of them, that would mean the dole. The club's new striker, Ronnie Moore, was looking on today's events with even greater apprehension.
I moved into a house in Eltham yesterday, so my mortgage is due on the 17th, so we might be having a collection. I don't know whether you'll help me, Simon, with £1 or £2 to pay it off. But obviously, you know, things are very nervous, especially for my family. I mean, my wife doesn't really know what's happening, and all I've got to do now is just hope that the consortium sort things out and we can get paid next week.
But it must have been difficult over the last few days, not knowing what's going on.
Not being paid as well. That's amazing. I haven't had any money for 6 weeks, but we're just hoping that it works out for the best.
I'd like to be optimistic, yeah. Bit really fed up with the length of time it's taken, but all we can do is just sort of sit around and wait for other people to do the business.
The spirit is good here, and yet there are so many problems.
I think it's just because we got our players' bar stuff handy on it. Plenty of Heineken. Got to keep up the spirit.
Yeah. But I mean, it is very heavy. I mean, if it goes against you today, you could be on the dole.
Well, I mean, it's sickening. I mean, I think legally, I think we're on it now. Although we haven't signed on, I think we're on it now. But just got to hope we're all right.
It's been a traumatic time for everybody, really. It's been very worrying, and I just hope that we get the right answer shortly.
The players say they're never sure. They hear a different story every day. How are you kept informed, and how are you able to keep your players informed?
Myself and the secretary.
This could be the call.
Hello? Yes. Have you had some information then? So you want the players? So everybody's staff and players at the Valley Club at 6 o'clock. What's the strength of it? Okay. All right. Okay. Cheers. Couldn't that monitor that conversation?
Well, your end. Was it good news?
Well, it's half and half. We've all got to meet at the Valley Club at 6 o'clock, but it's still going on.
Well, that was the mood at lunchtime today, all looking pretty gloomy. Since then, of course, the mood has changed. The official receiver accepted the rescue package in the High Court, and the consortium, backed by the Sunley Property Group, has agreed to meet all the stringent conditions laid down by the Football League. So, by the end of the afternoon, we were able to welcome Charlton 84, and Simon Reed is with the players at the club.
Well, it's now just gone 5 o'clock, and the news has just come through from the High Court that the club have been saved, and most of the club seem to be with me now. First off, Ronnie Moore. Ronnie, you must be delighted.
Obviously, you know, especially with me moving into the house yesterday, we were talking before about it. I mean, things are great now. Let's hope that we can do the business on the park like we've done all season, and the people looking after the club can get on with that, and we can be run as a football club again.
Have you rung the wife yet?
Not yet, no. I'll ring her later on.
She can start moving in the furniture.
She got some paint and some new wardrobes. They can put them in the house now. That'll be okay.
Terrific.
Never mind the lads.
Derek, you must be relieved, Derek.
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased, really. I'm going to get paid next week. Really looking forward to it.
It'll give you new heart, I think, your football as well.
Well, it's not really new heart. I mean, we've had a go all season. I mean, there's no, it won't be any different on Saturday, really. I mean, we've always been running around, but it's just nice to know that we're going to get paid next week.
Les, apart from the money, you must be delighted to be actually going on a football field again.
Over the moon, yeah. Just want to get back down to the normal routine now and start playing again.
Because you've got a family, you've got 2 young kids. It can't have been easy for them.
No, I mean, you keep it away from the children and the family as much as you can, but it has been a little bit worrying the last week or so, yeah.
Right, and Lenny Lawrence. Lenny, what sort of a day has it been?
Well, it's been like every other day. You just sit around most of the time waiting, and you know, it tends to get on your nerves. But the news at the end of the day has been good for everybody. I'm pleased for the staff, and I'm pleased for the players. As I've said many times before, they are a very genuine bunch of people, and it's a credit to them all that we've been able to do what we've done this season in view of all the financial difficulties we've had hanging over our heads. And I'm pleased for myself, obviously, but I'm pleased for also everybody else who works for the club that the outcome's been a good one.
How easy has it been for you to keep on an even keel with all this going on around you?
Personally, in the last 10 days, it's been a little bit difficult. Sometimes you can go out and do the training and that in the same frame of mind, but there have been 1 or 2 occasions in the last week where I've personally really felt depressed, you know, which is an unusual thing for me. But as I say, the news has been good news at the end of the day, and let's hope we can get back on with the game.
Has it sunk in yet?
Not really, no. It's not an elation thing. You don't feel as if you want to jump up and down. It's just an overwhelming feeling of relief.
You must be exhausted, actually.
Not so much exhausted, as I say, just relieved that 50 people weren't put out of a job, which was very, very close to happening.
What about the boys? I mean, Les, were you worried at all about going on the dole, which, I mean, that was the near alternative, wasn't it?
It was in the short term, yeah, but I think everybody would have been hopeful they could have got another club or got another living elsewhere. It was just how long it would take them to get it.
The champagne style. Derek's getting... Get the champagne moving. I think Derek's getting excited already. If I could bring in the secretary, Graham Hortop, it must have been a difficult time for you these last few days.
Well, it has, because we've had no base to work from, because from last Thursday, when the receiver put the locks on the gates, but I would like to say that the official receiver's office have been accommodating, because they've allowed the players to train, use kit, etc. But it is to and fro in between solicitors' offices, and you know, like Lenny, I'm pleased for the staff, the players, etc. But I'd like to say a word for the consortium, because no one, unless people have been with the consortium and the lawyers, they've been tremendous, because they've worked overtime. To do what they've done in a week would have taken normally months.
These players and myself and the other staff have been through a set of circumstances in the last week or 10 days that nobody's ever been through before. Other clubs have gone bust, but never in the course of a season. Now then, 1 or 2 things will occur, I think. Either the relief will show in the fact that they'll go out there and give it 100% and run around and, you know, really go to town, or alternatively, the fact that we've only played 1 game in a month and that might show, and it might be a sort of a big hangover effect. What I'm certain is there won't be a middle course. I'm nearly certain that it will be one or the other. And I hope, out of respect to the Consortium, if nothing else, there's a big enough crowd here on Saturday to pay their respects to those people and to see which way it goes for us.
Right, there'll be a few drinks tonight. Let's start it off now. Well done.
Cheers.
Yeah, I saw them. Cheers, Tim.
Some glasses, we need some glasses.
Lenny, got it? Lenny.
Oops, well done. There you go. Well done.
Well done.
I'll have the bottle in.
Cheers. Here's to Charlton 1984.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. Well done. Kept going well there.
So more than £1 million.
Final deadline set by the Football League. A consortium headed by the Bernard Sunley Building Group took charge of the club's assets and agreed to pay off most of its debts.
The months of anxiety over the future of Charlton finally ended this evening, and the sense of relief as the players and their supporters gathered to hear the news was something almost physical. The manager, Lenny Lawrence, and the captain, Derek Hales, had no doubt at all as to what they felt.
It's been a traumatic time, not so much whether the club goes down or whether it doesn't. What's been worse is the waiting and the different sort of opinions, the different decisions, and it wasn't until, as I say, late this afternoon that we definitely got the word that we're okay, and the great feeling is one of relief.
Well, I mean, all the players are relieved that we can still play football at Charlton Athletic, but as far as the football goes, I mean, we've got a game on Saturday. I mean, we just carry on as normal. I mean, we've been training as normal this week, and now that we've saved, I mean, the game would be exactly the same. It's still a game of football on Saturday, like the same as what we've played all season, but it's a little bit more interest in it as far as this week goes, because it'd be like starting all over again.
And now it's for the official receiver, so close to killing off a name that's been synonymous with British football for generations, to reopen the gates and let the fans flood, it's hoped, in for Saturday's game with Grimsby. Ray Maloney.
I'm also glad they'll still be known as Charlton Athletic rather than the new registered company name.
Division, 7,600 fans watched the rebirth of Charlton Athletic. In the programme, the manager wrote of relief at the rescue. Supporters showed their relief in other ways.
On Wednesday, I really got so disappointed, I couldn't believe it. Thursday, when I got the report from my wife, because she's got the teletext at home, she phoned me up, she said, Charlton are back, I saved. I said, thank God for that.
Thanks very much. I haven't got any money.
I'll give you one. Go on,
I'm Charlton board, I haven't got any money, but I've got one thing to say about the survival of Charlton.
Hey! Their saviour and new chairman, property developer John Fryer, showed the kind of enthusiasm for the game that he's going to need in the boardroom if the fans are still to cheer him for taking the club back into profit. The players provided a thriller for the first match of Mr. Fryer's stewardship. A 3-3 draw with Grimsby earned his delight. But they'll have to regain the winning touch to gain the success the new owners will demand.
Grimsby's draw means they slip to 6th. Chelsea take over at the top after drawing at Newcastle. Manchester City stay 4th. Carlisle move up following.